Okay, let's start with talking about diabetes, and let me just ask you, when you hear the word, what comes to mind for you?
Diabetes. First, I mean, the most profound is a disease, and it's I know it's detrimental to those affected by it and those around it. But in a nutshell, just it does not have a very good connotation to it when you hear it. I personally have not been closely affected by it. Fortunately, through family, I have not, but I have a lot of acquaintances and I'm very aware of what it does.
So that was kind of my next question. So what's your experience with some people that you know?
More or less just the knowledge of, and I'm in a lot of group settings, and you hear people talk of it, especially when early on diagnosis. I grew up a minister's son, so I saw a lot of it as we would visit, in and out of hospitals, nursing homes, the elderly, but it's around us everywhere.
Yeah.
And more so now that I'm a lot more in touch with, or in larger public circles, I see it more and more.
And one of the interesting things related to diabetes is that it actually can be controlled, and type 2 can be prevented. So that kind of brings us into thinking a little bit about, given that you're the mayor, the community at large. What's in the community, what's available to people, what are they doing? And so I'm going to move away from my usual interview and talk to you a little bit more about, as mayor of a community, where do you see health fitting and wellness and health promotion?
I think in every aspect. For instance, just in the environment of the setting by which as mayor, I feel as I'm the manager of the city, and there's two hats you wear. You manage the city in the public light, but then in what we do, we're a large business of providing services to people. So we have a lot of employees. Mm-hmm. We have the Healthy You program, which we encourage everyone for routine checkups. One thing I've been trying to be very adamant about, which we have an aging employment here in the city of Louisville, but physical fitness has been a priority of mine, and we've really been pushing that through the fire department. We have a weight room and another area we're trying to encourage law enforcement. When I say try to encourage, we haven't imposed any requirements yet. We were trying to do that. Excited about some things we've done with our parks. One park recently is, we're completing the project now. We added another walking track in town, and it's more of a community park, and hope that the activity at that park has really increased because it looks good. There's a lot more pride there, resurfaced basketball courts, things of that nature, just to try to get maybe kids back out moving. That's one thing that's very evident around here. There was a time, not many years ago, anywhere you turn, you'd see young people out playing ball, specifically basketball. Life has changed. Kids are behind the TV and I guess video games. That's what I hear, and I'm assuming it's true. I have kids of my own, so I know we somewhat battle that. Thankfully, mine are very active. But trying to get the fun back in playing ball and providing the facilities. So we've really been putting emphasis on that. Basketball courts, tennis courts, revamping those, new park equipment in both of our city parks. There's been several volunteer organizations that have put on things at the park which are helping. In our annual festival now, we've provided a 5K run, which has brought on some interest. We're seeing that in young adults start to take interest. And then don't want to necessarily be rambling, more than just trying to encourage physical activity, make it fun, community involved. We've implemented soccer in recent years, and it's growing. Matter of fact, we partnered with Mississippi State University next week to come in. We're not a soccer town, by no means.
Right.
And it's up and coming. So Mississippi State's coming in with soccer coaches, and they're going to do a clinic for several days here, and that's got a little buzz around things. Getting these kids out moving. And then when it comes with the schools, I'm in and out of the schools, and I think just a lot of the nutritional education, I'm seeing that. I would say there's anything coming from the mayor, but I'll endorse it, and I'll be the first to stand up and eat the healthy food in front of the children if that's what it takes. But I'm proud to see that that's been changing rapidly in recent years. So.
And it sounds like your self-help farm group is doing some positive things.
They are, and in addition to that, again, when I don't have notes and I'm sitting there thinking, I wear a lot of hats.
Right.
Since last year, since I've been mayor, a farmers market here, and it's doing well. It could be a lot better, but it takes a while to get something up and going. But we have that on Wednesday mornings and Saturday mornings, and we've seen some new growers this year. Of course, now some are just now starting to harvest.
Right.
But there's been a lot of interest in that. I mean, some of the ones that are selling it love it because within 2 hours they've sold out, and that's a great thing.
Yeah.
I'm thinking when I show up at 8 or 9 and they don't have anything, well, we didn't have a good showing today. But people are turning out, they're doing well with that. And I think there's a lot more conscious effort of trying to do things locally, thinking about homegrown. And two, I've seen a difference in our restaurants. Before mayor and even after mayor, I owned a restaurant here.
Okay.
And I've seen a change in diets and requests. I changed my menu about 5 times in 18 months. And my last menu had a lot more just due to request of fruit. It was just a lot more, much healthier diet. We are the South. We like our good fried Southern cooking.
Exactly. Now, what is your restaurant? Hi. Going to be just a few more minutes. Where's your restaurant?
It was. I sold it a year ago.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's not in business now. It's now a Mexican restaurant here in town. They bought my place out. So
Not out from 15.
that's right.
Okay.
That was mine.
Okay.
Yeah, it was called the Bypass, more of an all-American bar and grill type
Okay.
restaurant.
All right. Yeah, it's a Mexican. We actually ate there last night. It was pretty good.
Yeah, they do a great job.
Yeah, it seems like they're doing well. One of the things that I see in communities in general is that it's sometimes challenging or difficult to get all sectors of the community involved. I mean, you have some people who are just eager, but then you have the others who just sort of languish. Have you any ideas about how to get people more involved in making these choices and making some changes?
If I had the perfect answer to that, Louisville will be a lot different, and I'd probably be on a beach somewhere celebrating. You've heard the 20-80 rule.
Yeah.
As time passes, I feel like it's more of a 10-90. 10% of the people do 90% of the work. Those that do it wonderful job. We, like many other communities, we're not any different than, we all are different in our own way, but we're so similar across the board. We're a diverse community. We're a church-rich community. People maybe are entrenched in that. Sometimes the church is their social connection, their social ring. There are lines that are not necessarily been created by anyone that's living today. There's denominational lines, there's cultural lines, there's racial lines. There's all these that just are somewhat obstacles. And sometimes we're our own worst enemy because communication is understanding. I say that 1,000 times. It feels like a week. Communication is understanding. And with today's technology, we've got to learn to embrace that, to use that to communicate with each other. Reason being is, when I say we're on our worst enemy, there's so many good things that go on here, but how are we getting the word out? How are we reaching everyone that can be impacted, regardless of age, race, culture, everything? I do think we're making some slow strides in the right direction. And I don't think I really honestly don't think you can pinpoint what it is. I think technologies have a lot to do with that. I think the embracing of technology and seeing that, hey, we need to make these things happen.
Yeah.
How do you reach that 90 or that 80 that's not really doing a whole lot? I think it's just pretty much it's a constant recruitment, and we've got to get people invested in it. For instance, for this one, you're going to hit a nerve with people who are affected personally or someone close to their family with diabetes. And when that is the case, it hits close to home, just like cancer relief. When it hits close to home, you pay attention. It's just going to be an all-out effort to communicate clearly what it is we're doing, why we need you involved, and how important that person is. And they have to have a sense of feeling important. So if you have a suggestion, I'd be happy to write it down.
Well, wish I could say here it is. One of the things that I think about in rural communities, all of the counties that I'm working with, are economically deprived. Right, their job shortages, very limited opportunities. And health is a great need, and you do have a hospital here in Winston County, which other counties, so I'm going to go to Kemper tomorrow, and they just got a hospital, but they didn't have one up until then. But I have some other counties that don't even have a hospital. Do you have any thoughts about how we can tie economics and health together so that it becomes more of a win-win? In other words, health being the thing that we are all concerned about, but ways to also improve the economic well-being of local communities.
Well, they go so closely, that they go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
The dependence of healthcare assistance would not be so prevalent if the economic conditions weren't where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's evident. I mean, we're looking at healthcare reform, but the best healthcare reform in the world is economics being stronger, more jobs, and that's a constant battle. Mm-hmm. How do you marry the two? You've got group insurance plans, and I think they've done somewhat of a good job trying to encourage, like for instance here what we have, and I know a couple of large employers here, the Healthy Use, and encouraging fitness, and when you've got a setting like that, you've got to a degree a captive audience.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the low income, those below the poverty line that are even working, that's a target altogether itself, maybe different. That I don't know really how we reach and what do we do. That's a question beyond my ability.
So in Ohio, where I'm from, Medicaid's a problem. A lot of states having problems with Medicaid. Is that a problem here?
Most definitely. And again, how does this problem rectify itself? Economic growth could and would solve that problem. When the economy is booming and we're on the up cycle, that's when the conditions of our Medicaid programs are at its best. Mm-hmm. There's not as much dependency. Mm-hmm. However, when it's down, you're going to have more of a dependency, and I do feel as though outside the political arena, but I feel like that dependency breeds more dependency, and it continues to cycle itself. The entrepreneurial spirit of America has got to be revived. Our community, and let me just give you another example of our community, thriving industrial community in the past. Still is to a degree, but yet the employment numbers are not where they were, and our population has changed. We're a little community like Winston County was so hard hit by the recent recession because of construction. When the construction market declined and fell, Winston County went with it. Mm-hmm. We have a county just next to us to the west. We're almost identical in demographics, population, but their unemployment numbers are half of what we are. We are still in wood. Plywood, particle board, brick plants, cabinet plants, hardwood mills, and when construction plummets, it hurt us. Mm-hmm. We also had a lot of factories in the past, and due to some moves just prior to NAFTA, and NAFTA lost seatbelt factory here, which employed, and was a great employer, clock factory that was the largest employer in the county, and then they've moved on. And this is just, this is typical small rural America that this has impacted. The reality is we're not going to ever be what we were, but we've got to do what we can to, don't reinvent the wheel, but let's find the best in ourselves. Let's try to self-sustain. And I think it's a true testament, too, to our community. And since the recession, our sales tax is not just sustained, it's grown. folks are making a conscious effort to do things at home because they know now when I do things at home, I'm helping my neighbor, I'm helping my fellow church member, I'm helping somebody in my community, I'm helping provide a job. And we've done some pretty really good and strong campaigns in that way. Shop locally, do what you can at home. And that does help retain jobs, but we still need job creation. We need some outside dollars flowing in, and then from there, I feel like it will help our Medicaid. Going back to the initial question, it would help it. I'm a firm believer that economic growth will take care of our healthcare dependency.
Yeah, and one of the other things that I kind of always wonder about is the idea of most people who are employed or who receive Medicaid are often they're part of a family who is also covered by the same plan, whether it's a private policy or a public policy. And yet we don't really do much with those other people or help the person who's the recipient of the care coverage understand what they could do in their family to make things better, which actually serves the state or it serves the local employer as well. So ideas for you to kick around in your head a little bit to think about directions to go. I've been, and I'm not just saying this because I'm here, but I have been particularly impressed with Winston County in that in all of the counties that I'm working at, this is the county I see that has the most potential because you've got some really good, strong leadership here and people who are, and some really good people who are willing, in that 10% you got.
Right.
You got really good 10%.
Right.
And they're really good workers, so I think you have some real potential. And thinking about how to bring together this problem of diabetes prevention, which actually is bigger than that because we know there's links between diabetes, heart disease, strokes, cancer, and all of that is money in the end, as well as quality of life. And trying to think about how to bring those things together with the economy could be positive steps forward for the future.
Well, the health awareness, whether it be in grade school settings or even in your civic club or business arena, all the way up to what we're trying to get off the ground now, which was a campaign idea when I ran for office. But however, it takes one thing for sure about government: nothing moves fast. You know that it's a very slow process. We're trying to get off the ground now a true senior center. We're trying to identify the facility that we're going to use. We're looking at whatever the city, what we have the city to provide, and then revamp that. A couple meals a week, and one of the ideas is to, at that time, just good fellowship, good fun for those to get them out of the house. Depression sets in, I would imagine, if someone sits alone. I hear it, but get them out, the fellowship with others. But that's an opportunity for those that are not in healthcare setting to be informed outside of, say, Fox News, CNN, or headline news and watching it on TV where it's somewhere far off. Having someone come on and make presentations. And I've talked to some of our healthcare providers out here locally that would love that opportunity, even from the nursing home to different aspects, even from the physical therapy side. They can talk to them about certain exercises they could be doing, and it's much needed because So again, and from the educational side, preschool, grade school, all the way up to the senior, education is the key.
Well, I appreciate your taking time to talk with me today, and I'm hoping that we'll have some new ways to get involved in the year or so to come.
Hope so. Keep that senior center in mind. That might be I had you guys in mind too from the presentation you did out of the extension office. Be a wonderful program to do, just to talk about it.
Yes. Well, I think the first thing is education, letting people know there's a problem. And then it's the challenge of finding ways to help them see how they can get involved, take those action steps. That's where we fall down. We usually educate, but then we quit it. So we have to go further than that.
And oftentimes we find ourselves meeting, and we fail to put those meetings into action. We're doing this in one particular group. We're trying to partner all of our churches and charitable organizations, all of that together. Going back to what I said earlier, communication's our problem. Trying to break down some of those barriers that's, again, no one's fault. It's just by tradition or by default it's been there. We're trying to break those down, bring everyone together, say, hey, we can communicate. You don't even have to pick up the phone. There's so many things we could use.
Exactly.
But through that, we get going, and then it feels like one step forward, two steps back. So we're now going through a process to coach ourselves into putting this all into action. And I'm really excited about that. We're doing it out of the Extension office. So
Excellent.
get it away from the political arena.
Yeah.
It needs to be.